Hey Screamers, welcome back, or if it's your first time here, welcome. Here we dive into the new, the old, and the spookiest corners of horror cinema. Today we're going to be discussing the 2024 release Your Monster. Your Monster is a movie that follows Laura, played by our horror queen Melissa Barrera, and I am here and seated for anything and everything that Melissa Barrera does. Justice for Scream 7, I'm still not over it. Let's dive into what it's about. Laura is a young woman and aspiring actress grappling with the suffocating weight of self-doubt, anxiety, and unprocessed trauma. Relatable, am I right? I'm sure my therapist is a bit tired of hearing all about that. When the movie opens, we're shown a quick montage that consists of flashes of significant moments for Laura that spans a period of several months. We're shown her long-term relationship with her boyfriend Jacob, a playwright and all-around douchebag, her cancer diagnosis and subsequent surgery, and, of course, her emotional breakup with aforementioned douchebag. Trust me, guys, he earned that name. The montage ends with Laura's best friend Maisie picking her up from the hospital and taking her back to her childhood home to recover, eat pie, and definitely 100% not cry.
Don't cry. Don't cry.
It's here that Laura then meets the monster, a frightening yet oddly endearing creature that currently inhabits her closet. At first, Laura is understandably afraid, but as the story unfolds and they spend more time together, Laura and the monster develop an unexpected connection. Their relationship evolves from one of fear to one of acceptance. He is integral in helping Laura rediscover parts of herself that she'd hidden away and helps her face her troubles with confidence and courage.
Look!
From this angle, I can see your back and your face simultaneously. That's how much I'm looking at you.
I'm a mess!
No, you're not.
I'm a disaster!
Oh.
This movie is a journey of self-discovery. It's about facing your emotions, and it is about falling in love with your inner rage. Your Monster is the debut feature film from writer and director Caroline Lindy. It's based on the short film of the same name. I think she did a pretty good job, if I do say so myself. It's a horror rom-com with a twist, and as the tagline said, love can be a beast. But is it really horror? Or does it just borrow elements from the genre? That's what I want to get into today. That's what I want to discuss. So let's break it down. This review is going to be spoiler free, so as not to ruin it for the rest of you guys. But I do strongly suggest checking it out if you have the opportunity. Now, let's get stuck in. Firstly, I want to say that this movie surprised me in more ways than one. I did enjoy it, and way more than I thought I was going to. But I was left wanting more. I'll get a little bit more into that later. I loved the overall vibe of this movie, the art direction, the cinematography. Every scene felt well thought out and magical, and like it had a purpose, it had a place. I just thought that the set design for the musical, especially the costumes, oh my god, it was just all so Broadway. And as a massive fan of musicals, I just went and saw Wicked on the weekend. So yeah, it definitely struck a chord with me. I absolutely loved that. The acting by Melissa Barrera was flawless, but I mean, are we really surprised at this point? You really feel her pain and her internal struggle come through the screen. And this character, she goes through some shit, and you feel it. Also, did anyone else know she could sing? Like, those pipes? Damn, girl. She definitely deserves the lead in the musical. Little cameo by my cat Pretzel. Such a hoe for the camera. Anyway, back to the review. Where was I? I did feel that the monster, played by Tommy Dewey, who also portrayed the monster in the short film, he was a touch theatrical for my taste. He felt very stage makeup and cheap wigs. And I know that that kind of fits with the plot surrounding a Broadway show, but I did feel he could have just been a little less cheesy. However, I did read that the idea of the monster was inspired by the Lion, the Tin Man, and the Scarecrow from The Wizard of Oz, and you can definitely see that art style and direction come through on the screen, especially in the prosthetics and the face makeup. Laura's best friend Maisie, played by Kayla Foster, does a brilliant job at playing this awful and insufferable, but unfortunately only friend of Laura. She just is very, very good at making you dislike her very early on in the game. And ditto to Edmund Donovan, who plays Jacob. The real villain in this story is this douchebag Jacob. I cannot with him. Who dumps their partner after 5 years together while they're going through cancer treatment just because it would affect his career. Also, he gave her the lead in the musical, which he named the part after her, and then he took it away when they broke up. Like, what a guy. The bar is so low, guys. But none of that was spoilers, by the way. It happens very early on in the film, like opening of the film. No spoilers. Anyway, another really strong point of this film is its soundtrack and scores. The musical numbers are catchy and upbeat. The Broadway aspect. There are two full songs for the Broadway show, and one of them is kind of practiced, and you hear bits and bobs of throughout the movie before hearing it in full. And that song is so catchy and has been stuck in my head since I watched this a couple of weeks ago. And it's just, if any tips to get it out of my head, I mean, so far the only thing that's working is listening to the Wicked soundtrack on repeat. My Spotify Wrapped is going to be very biased. Anyway, so yeah, the musical aspects were just brilliant. And then composer Tim Williams did an incredible job of creating scenes of beauty and romance in one moment and then fear and tension in the next. A little bit of trivia. Tim Williams was also the composer for Ty West's Powerhouse Pearl. Try saying that 10 times fast. Powerhouse Pearl, Powerhouse Pearl, which I am a huge fan of. And he's also worked on a lot of other heavy hitters. So, big fan of his. I didn't even know it. I think another strong aspect of the film is the comedy. Your Monster does the rom-com genre well. Like, so well, in fact, that I was left waiting for the horror. And when it finally came, it wasn't enough for me. I wanted more. I loved the lightness of this movie. It does get heavy in some parts, quite heavy, in fact. But I still found myself kind of waiting and hoping that something scary would happen or something big or intense or just some more horror in general. But it never really delivered on that until the final 10 minutes or so of the movie. And I understand why it went this route. One, for the rating. So it's rated M here in Australia, which I believe is R in America for restricted. And if they had upped the gore or upped the scares, then they would have needed to go to the next level up, a higher rating, and that would have restricted the audience. So I get that. And secondly, the subtext. This movie has a lot of subtext. Not quite as much as something like The Substance, aka best movie of 2024. Am I right, guys? Am I right? My cat meowed, so I think that's a yes. But it has enough emotional subtext that it couldn't go all out until the final act of the film because it just wouldn't have made sense. It wouldn't have made sense for the plot, it wouldn't have made sense for the character journey for Laura and the relationship that she has with the beast. All of that stuff needed its time to develop before that really, really important third act. But did that stop me from wanting it? No, of course not. I always want more horror. Why? Because I'm sick. I am a sick motherfucker. What can you do? Give me that sweet, sweet gore, baby. But I digress. I keep going off topic. No spoilers, but I did see the twist coming pretty early on. It didn't ruin it for me or anything. You know, I've seen a lot of movies, as I'm sure all of you have, and I think some twists can be easier to predict than others. This one for me didn't ruin the movie at all. If anything, it kind of gave me a greater appreciation for what they were going for and where it ended up. I just think it was really well done. So, long story short, what did I think of it? I really liked this movie. As you can probably tell from the last however many minutes, I think it is just some spooky, cozy, campy fairy tale fun, and the rewatchability for this one for me is quite high. I can definitely, I mean, I've already watched it once going in blind just for the experience, and then secondly again for notes for the review, and I can see myself watching it again. Like, I could easily make this like a yearly watch. Do I want more horror? Duh. My answer will always be yes to that question. I just had such a good time watching this movie, and it was such an easy watch, which I just think is what we need sometimes. Yeah, I don't need to watch something super heavy or super gory all the time. I think that this is just light-hearted, campy fun. Your Monster gets a 2 out of 10 for horror and scares from me, a 9 out of 10 for creating a catchy song that I can't get out of my friggin' head, and I give it a 7 out of 10 overall, which is pretty damn good. The only reason I knocked off points, like I really think it probably is about an 8 out of 10 for me, the only reason it loses points is because there was not enough horror. It did feel more like a rom-com for me, and that's okay. That's totally fine. I just think that they could have done more. Your Monster was released on the 25th of October in the US and will be coming to select theatres on the 28th of November in Australia. Be sure to check it out and tell me your thoughts below in les comments. Thanks for joining me on my very first movie review. You guys, what a wild thing that why am I starting a YouTube channel? Am I going through a midlife crisis? Definitely. I hate to sound like a cliche, but hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe. God, that's so cringe, but here we are. And remember, if you're ever feeling squeamish, you know where to find me. Bye.